Righty. Welcome to another episode of Motivational Monday, where each one teach one. And guys, I hope you had a nice week. And Father, I come to you today seeking your favor in our daily life. Every morning as we face our new day, I'm reminded of our need and your guided hand. Help us to seek your goodness and pursue your peace. Help us to walk with your wisdom and to reflect your love each and every day. By faith, we receive your unpredicted favor as we serve you with our hearts. May your favor and blessing rest upon us and hope and trust in you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen and amen. So,
Amen.
guys, if you are celebrating a birthday today, I want to say happy birthday. If you celebrated a birthday past week gone, I want to say happy belated birthday. Hope you guys had a wonderful birthday. I still want to send out condolences to the Joseph family on the passing of Anthony Joseph, brother. Um, he got a heart attack last week, Monday, while motivation was going on, and he transitioned. So once again, I want to say condolences going out to the Joseph family. I know that is never easy, but we have to take one day at a time. So we have with us Mr. Francis Ragu. Francis, what is the word of the week?
The word of the week is discipline.
Discipline.
And it said the ability to control yourself or other people, even in difficult situations. But more importantly, is having that commitment to do the things that sometimes is uncomfortable to others and not to you, but training your mind in order to be. What you do every Monday is a discipline.
Yes.
Discipline to be there, punctual, and ready to go every Saturday, every Monday, in fact, and
Yes.
knowing that you have to give up some things in order to be. But that's what the discipline to me is all about. Doing that what makes you uncomfortable, but being comfortable in doing it.
Yes, and I would say you're sure right about that. That is all me there. Okay, so I have one health tip for you guys this week, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the mouth. Your mouth is part of your digestive and respiratory system. It helps you with your daily function like eating, speaking, and breathing. Taking care of your mouth can help you healthy and reduce your risk of a wide range of dental and medical conditions. Your mouth is an oval shape open that sits just below your nose. It starts at your lips and ends towards your torso. Your mouth is part of your digestive and respiratory system. Breathing, talking, chewing, tasting, swallowing, eating, drinking. Your mouth is where digestion begins. When you chew food, your salivary glands make saliva. Saliva helps break down scratches in the food you eat. Then your tongue moves the food into your throat, down your esophagus, and into your stomach. Like your nose, your mouth brings air into your lungs. Since your mouth is larger than your nose, it brings in more air. And because the air doesn't have to travel as far, your body can use it faster. But unlike your nose, your mouth does not have a filtration system. When you breathe through your nose, it filters warm and moist air. Tiny hairs sweep mucus into the back of your throat where you swallow it. And then your stomach neutralizes it, breathing mainly through your mouth. Mouth breathing can dry out your gum and cause issues like bad breath and dry mouth. Many parts make up your anatomy. These parts work together harmoniously to help with chewing, speaking, and breathing. The outside of your mouth creates a boundary that holds food in place and help you form songs and words. It includes your cheeks and lips, teeth, gum, oral, saliva glands, tongue, taste buds. So that is the function of your mouth for you guys. Your mouth is very important. It's one of the most important, I think, part of your body, because if they cut out your tongue, you can't speak. So I think it's very Very important. What do you think about that?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Well, it's one of the more important part of your body, but I always say the most important part is not necessarily your mouth, is your anus.
Yes.
Because you could always function and they could YouTube, but if you cannot get it off, get that out of you, the waste out of you, you have a problem. So when somebody say you're an a-hole, I said, yeah. Then I'm most important part of your body and you just don't know it. So
Exactly.
you turn a negative into a positive.
Exactly. All right, guys. So for Women Health Month history, this month we are going to recognize Drupati Ragunai, born the 2nd of March 1958 as a Trinidadian and Tobagoan chutney and soca musician. She was responsible for coining the term chutney soca in 1987 with her first album entitled Chutney Soca, which include both English and Hinduism version of the song. She had her biggest hit the following year with her Roll Up the Tassa, Mr. Bisessa was the road march contender. She was instrumental in Tassa and Chutney Soca finding its place in Carnival, and her effort later led to competitions such as Chutney Soca Monarch. Drupati was born Sunradi Road in Charlo Village, Pinal, St. Patrick's County, Trinidad and Tobago, into a Hindu Indian family. She started singing along her mother in the mandir at the young age, then went to learn Indian classical singing from her trainer, a veteran in the field. She also gained exposure on Mastana Bahar, the Indian culture pageant, winning the local song category in 1983 and 84. Drupati recorded her first crossover tune in 1987 entitled Chutney Soca and gained moderate success in the Calypso 10. The term Chutney Soca was first coined by Drupati. With that crossover, Chutney Soca in 1987, and Raguna is considered the mother of Chutney Soca the following year. So Drupati played a very important part in our culture. I want to also salute another woman for History Month, which is Sanel Dempster. Born in 1973, holds the distinction of being the first female road march winner in 21 years. Her musical journey has led her to the forefront of Caribbean music, particularly through her association with Blue Ventures. Before her time, when the Blue Ventures, Sanel was vocalist for several other bands, including Taxi, Atlantic, Traffic, and Song Revolution. In 1996, she joined the Blue Venture, contributing her powerful voice and vibrant energy to their music. Sanel also solo album titled River showcased her talent and creativity. Additionally, she competed in the Road March in 1999, leaving an incredible mark on the Caribbean music scene. Her contributions have resonated with audience, making her a significant figure in the region musical landscape, whether leading Blue Ventures or pursuing her solo endeavors. Celine Dempster continues to captivate listeners with her dynamic performance and infectious rhythm. So I want to say congratulations to Sunil and congratulations to Drupati for helping the Trinidad and Tobago culture. I think, we have to give them the flowers when they're alive and they keep flying the flag for Trinidad and Tobago. So now my guest, Mr. Francis Dave Ragu, I'm going to read a little about him and then we have him here with us so he'll answer all our questions. He's an experienced realtor with 41 years of dedicated service in Miami-Dade and Broward counties, recognized for exceptional achievements in real estate, community advocacy, what's the pronunciation?
Advocacy.
Yeah, advocacy and leadership role within various organizations, adept at building strong relations, fostering community engagement, and delivering results. Professional experience, Relator and real estate broker, Miami-Dade and Broward counties in 1983 to present. Established career in real estate, obtaining real estate license in 1983 and real estate broker license in 1987. Recipient of multiple awards from the Miami Association of Realtors, including the 1987 Realtors Associate of the Year. Chaired various committees for the association, including FHA, VA Community, Orientation Committee, Grievance Committee, and American Home Week Community, recognized as the 2013 Professional Standard Chairman of the Year Award recipient. So we're going to go down the road as I read out the rest as we go with our conversation. I want to say thank you very much, Mr. Raghu, for being my guest. Thank you for always logging into Motivational Monday, where each one teach one. I know you log on every week, and it have to be something I'm saying to have you log on. And I want to say thank you very, very much. So you want to give us a little background?
Yes, and again, thank you for having me as a guest. And as you know, most time I log on and I'm silent because
Yes.
I'm an active listener.
Yeah.
And as much as you may read, I think I learn every day, and I take what I hear and make me, into my growth and wisdom. And that's why I log on, because it's always interesting, and you learn something that you did not know yesterday, but you can move forward for tomorrow based on what you heard today.
Thank you. So, life member of the NAACP. Tell us a little bit about that.
The NAACP, which is the longest Black organization, a life member give you status that it's like a $750 per year that you pay, and that give you a life member, give you actual membership throughout the whole state. And for that, it's good endorsement to have. And part of that is in terms of, from the political part of I run for office in the city of Miami Gardens in 2016.
Right.
And that endorsement is there. One part of that also, which not necessary, but just since I talk about politics, presently I am the parliamentarian for the Miami-Dade Democratic Party, of which we have a little over 513,000 registered Democrats in Miami-Dade County, and I'm the parliamentarian. Not that I sorted out
Right.
something that, about 3-4 years ago, it's like the president came and, if I said, no, my plate is full, my plate. Oh, Francis, you've been recommended, we want to. Finally, I gave in, and that's it. All of the folks from all the walks of life in Miami-Dade who in political office, part of the Democratic Party, they rely upon me as a parliamentarian to give the rules and government we have in our major party meetings. In fact, like tomorrow we have our district meeting, and here am I, this little humble boy from Moruga, Village, Moruga, in Trinidad and Tobago, leading in terms of the parliamentarian. And there are times that we do have issues in any major organization. When there's crosshairs, you have to enforce the rules, and that's part of what I do.
So, Francis, I think that's a very interesting role that you have there, touching a lot of lives. And, to be the representative for the Democratic Party. So, with the elections coming up soon, how has that been for you guys?
Well, in terms of our responsibility on the local chapter is really to make sure that we get as much Democrats to register, and in terms of supporting those candidates who run for the state office or congressional office or local. Most of the cities is nonpartisan, but for this year, we have 3 changes that is taking place in Miami-Dade. One, we have a sheriff right now. We have commissioner of police, but for this year, first time to be electing a sheriff, and it is partisan, which I think it should not be, because you have the runoff in, primary in August, and then they to select the Democratic candidate and the Republican candidate, and then in November we have the general election. And my thing is, why should that be? So does that mean I'm a Republican? I am not, but you go to arrest somebody who's a Democrat, or is there favoritism or bias? Because I think it should have been a non-partisan, but they did not set that rule. Likewise, we have for the appraisal, the county appraiser, again, partisan, Republican candidate, Democratic candidate, and it's the same thing. If you're going to make decision appraising the House and governs that, as a Republican, if you win, or a Democrat, does it favorable because the person there is I think it should not be, but I do not make the rules. And the same thing have to do with the Christine White, who is the state, what's the total for the election commissioner? It's going to be also a partisan role, Democrat and Republicans. One of the things that the unfair part of that is that we had a situation whereby the Republicans were taking the elder folks and changing their party registration unbeknownst to them. And now you have partisan now in terms of that should be and that should not be. But those are three things that we have coming up, which we have to educate the community on. The second part of that, which the state has done, is that the vote by mail. Vote by mail used to be something dominated by the Republican parties, but over the years, the Democrats come and so forth, taking advantage of it. What this present governor did is effective December 31st, 2023, that everybody vote by mail status eliminated. You have to start over now and re-register now in order for the election to be, which is something now that most of the older folks who don't, okay, well, they are not aware of it. And that's the struggle we have trying to educate the folks in terms of some people cannot get it to the polls, so vote by mail is what they do. But as we always say in politics, election have consequences. And if there's one thing that we have to enforce in terms of not only in Miami-Dade where I reside, but throughout the nation, this is a presidential election year. Everyone that if you can tell them one thing, and they are able and qualified to be an elector, which means a registered voter, please vote. The alternative to what we have right now is dangerous. The democracy, the Republic democracy of the United States is on the line for 2024. And we cannot spread that word enough. That people say they want to complain, oh, I'm not voting because Biden is too old. But you are the recipient of many things that you don't know of, and what's your alternative? Okay, is that what you want to see? Okay, so don't complain if you do not participate. Don't tell me that you don't like if you did not vote and you're able to vote. If you're unable to vote because you are not a citizen, I could understand. But if you are and you do not exercise your right that people have died to give you
don't complain.
Don't complain to me.
That is some good information there, especially for the young people and especially for the ignorant people who watching, because as you say, they normally will say, I'm not voting because of Biden or whatever. And when the other one come and take over, then it's a horse of a different color, So I agree with you. We have to go out there and exercise our rights. A lot of people die for us to have the rights to vote, because long ago, we didn't have that right. So I think people should go out there and exercise the right, especially people of our color.
Well, it's true, because we didn't have it as a Black person because we are not considered a full human being. And secondly, you as a woman did not have the right to vote.
Exactly.
And the sad part of that is that right is not forever. At any point in time, they can change that because it has to be renewed ever so often to give you that privilege to vote. And that's unfortunate, but this is part of our Republican democracy that, it is what it is.
Yes. I want to say thank you, June. Thank you, Jason. Thank you guys for logging in. We're here chilling with Francis Rago, and we're getting to know about a lot of things. He wears a lot of hats, so we're taking it one at a time. So number 2, you're a board member and moderator on Represented People's Positive Action Council. What's that?
Okay, UPPAC, as we call ourselves, is an organization started by former Miami-Dade County Commissioner Betty T. Ferguson, whose husband, the federal building that you saw when Trump had his trial here in Miami-Dade,
Yeah.
named after him. He was the first elected Black federal judge in the state of Florida. So we have this organization. It's through that organization that the city of Miami Gardens was birthed. We first started Destiny, which failed. We didn't go for it, then go back, retool. And this is our 37th year that we meet every Saturday morning. Prior to the pandemic, we used to meet in person. Now we do it via Zoom, for which I'm the moderator, of host of the Zoom forum. We do that in conjunction with the Wilkie Ferguson Junior Bar Association, for which, as I mentioned, the Black judge attorneys is named after the organization named after him. So what we do on that is that every Saturday morning we have speakers of all different platforms that we speak about, from the county, the city, the state. Again, prior to the pandemic, for 6 or 7 years straight, we had 2 busload of residents going up to Tallahassee to lobby for bills that we support, what they don't support. My responsibility in terms of that is to look in terms of almost 2,000 bills that the state legislature has proffered before the state to become law, go through all of those and then condense that to a 1-page or 2-page document in terms of this is our position paper that we present to the 120 state rep and the 40 senators. So we do that until the pandemic. And then after that, since it's buses and I say, we want to go at it. COVID is still out there. I don't feel comfortable being on a bus load, or you have people that you're locked in there about 11 hours, to go to Tallahassee. So we haven't done it, but we stay actively engaged in terms of that aspect, from UPPAC. We do the estate planning. We do just about every aspect of it. We cover every Saturday, have different speakers that we speak about everything that governs their life, and quality of life within the residents, not only from Miami-Dade, because we have even some folks that log on even from Washington that log on every Saturday morning. So that's something that we do on the UPPAC.
So let me ask you something, Francis. So what school did you attend in Trinidad and Tobago? A young man from Moruga.
From Marak Village, Moruga. I think that most people never heard from, because, as I said, that's the last village. No, when people from South, like you from San Fernando, and you say you're from South, I tell people, no, you're not from South. South is where I'm from, because when you get to where I came out from, there's no other place to go. You have to go back where you come from. So that was my elementary school. Then went to school in past common entrance was for Princestown Junior Secondary. However, Princestown Junior Secondary was not completed as yet. So I did my first 2 years at Pleasantville Junior Secondary. And then we came back and did my post after we did that, second 2 or 3 years at Pleasantville Senior Comprehensive. So
nice. People.
Yes, yeah. So I'm Pleasantville Senior Comprehensive. Yeah, the second batch that went to Pleasantville Senior Comprehensive was, I was in that batch.
Very good. Congratulations. I mean, for a man of your stature and the positions that you're holding, it shows that junior secondary education is good, just as the 5-year school, convent, and Benedicts and different things like that. So you did well. All right. Moving on to number 3, District 1 Representative 21st Century School Bond Advisory Committee. What's that all about?
Yeah, I'm representing Miami-Dade County District 1 for our school board, a $1.2 billion bond. Miami-Dade County, we have 400 schools within the county. And with that bond is the money that we borrowed basically in order to build new schools, renovate new schools, bring it into modern technology and so forth. And so that day I represent our district, one of the, I think there are only 3 people of color that look like me that sit on the board in Santo, and I look at across the board and I say, I always smile inside. I say, this little humble boy sitting amongst all of these professors and this one and that one. But, they eat from my hand when I make my presentation, because one thing I always do, and I take it from Johnny Cochran: preparation, preparation, preparation.
All the
And whatever I sit and I do is because I am prepared to do. And you cannot challenge me. Well, you can challenge me, but you're not going to win it because I am prepared. And that's part of it. What on that board, though, one of the things that I advocate for is to make sure that Black contractors get to be beneficial part of that money spending. And
right,
I say that Black because many times what we confuse and we say minority. Well, the
right,
Hispanic community is considered a minority federally. In
right,
Miami-Dade County, they are the majority. So when you try to show me, well, minority contractors get 51% of the jobs, and I look and I see that, okay, or the money spent, and I see the Hispanic contractor get $469 million to them, and the Black get 55 million. Don't tell me about percentage. I'm
right.
looking at the disparity between those. So that way, we advocate, make sure that our people get a share part.
Very good.
But that's our tax dollars that is being spent, and it should be equitably spread across the board. So that's part of the fight that I have in terms of representing District 1. One of the things that we're able to do in terms of one of the schools, they're the Norland Senior High School, there, which I see
Yeah.
PTSD
Remember
member.
Norland Senior High School?
Yeah, we were able to build that school. And can you imagine, you build a high school, and on the first floor for the men's bathroom, you do not have a urinal for the boys. So when
Yeah.
they rush in there, I mean, it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But that happened prior to me being on the board, and that's something that they complained, that the boys rush into the bathroom and they pee in the corner because you only have so many toilets and what have you, and we're
Right.
able to get, thankfully, during the pandemic, to go in there and change that and put in the appropriate amount of urinals. But again, the representative before me, he did not see that as something that he wished to do, and was able to make those changes among some of the things that we do in terms of representation for our community, especially those are the schools in District 1.
That is very good.
Mm-hmm.
Guardian ad litem volunteer 11 judicial circuit guardian ad litem program 2007 to 2013.
Yeah, and one thing let me mention on the PTSA. My daughter, as I mentioned, is 41 years old. I'm still a member of the PTSA, and what I do, Norland Senior High School have roughly about 1,700 seniors. Right. I pay for all of the students who wish to join the PTSA. As I tell them, don't come to me all at once, because I cannot afford to pay for 1,700 students, but you'll be surprised how much they appreciate, and their parents appreciate somebody taking up that responsibility for them. And that's a commitment that we do into making sure, again, looking out for the future, in terms of the student. The Guardian Ad Litem program is something by the 11th Circuit Judicial Court, whereby you are responsible for the interest of the foster child.
Right.
So what you have is like, okay, the parent, father and mother, could have their attorney, but who look out for the interests of the child don't have. So I am that person who looked out for the interests of the child, and then we have to do a whole case study, bring it back, represent the interests, and then make decision, because when they take your child from you, you have 9 months in order to prove to the court as to should that child be reunited with their parents or not, but it all based upon what I bring forward in terms of my report to the judge, and the judge rely totally in terms of the guardian ad litem, because again, your sole interest is the interest of that child who is adopted. The sad part about that part of it, though, is that from the time you turn 18 years, you are left to go in the wilderness with about $700. I think they raise it to $1,100 now, and have to navigate yourself through life with that amount of money. And that's the sad part, because there are people who are genuine, that are there for the welfare of the child. There are people who look at it as the business, part of it. So they're only there for the money in terms of, and, it's a sad part of our foster care situation. But again, it is what it is.
Yeah, I think that's a very important part. I didn't know about this. It sounds like, when they take your kids away, and, they're going to the homes, and you view to see if the parents are fit or not, So I think this program is very, very important. So do you see a lot of a lot of kids?
Yes, and we had some very interesting cases that we did over the years. But again, I did that until 2013 because it takes a lot of time for me to do a comprehensive report because not only that child life is in your hands, but also the parents there that
Yes.
sometimes the report, especially where the dad sometimes is concerned and the discipline of the child coming from where there's a West Indian background, we get our licks and so forth. It did not make
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
parents bad.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when they bring that now into America, now it's a whole different stuff. And sometimes somebody needs to, take that and explain to the judge in terms of there's a difference, in terms of that representation.
Culture. Yes.
Because do you want the police to put a gun to my child and take them in jail? Or if I spank my child to do the right thing, I did not abuse my child, because there's a difference now in
Right.
terms of that abusive relationship and that what is a discipline. And we
Discipline.
have to try to educate, the judges in terms of that, and then make that recommendation to be housed again with the family.
Nice. Good. So, graduate Miami Gardens Citizen Academy program in 2013. What's that all about?
That part is learning all of the different faculties in the city of Miami Gardens, all the departments and so forth, knowing all the laws, going through the charter and so forth, and learning more, because that was part of my preparation in running for city council in the city of Miami Gardens, which I did in 2016. So that's part in terms of gaining more knowledge, again, preparing yourself to learn more about what is happening.
Right. Graduate Good Government Initiative Workshop, University of Miami.
That again is all political and all learning and whole of our constitution, both state, local, and being that wider awareness in terms of, again, preparation running for office.
So how do you remember all these things, Mr. Ragu?
It just, don't ask me how. I don't know. It just happened naturally. You do it over and over, so it just come naturally and flows. And like someone told me once, they said, Francis, we could do an interview with you, and you're not reading from anything. You just going
Yeah.
on. I mean, well, it's just,
Experience.
I don't know. I mean, I have to question myself sometimes, but you do it over and over, so it becomes naturally.
Yes.
And the interesting part about it is that most people don't know that I'm engaged in all of these things behind, because I do not come out there and you see me. If you know, you know. If you
Simple
don't, you don't
person,
know.
simple man.
Staying humble.
Yes. Jillian is saying good night, Mr. Ragu wears many important hats and is doing a great job sharing his roles and responsibility. Great job, sir. Yes, we have Anthony in the house, Melvin, Frankie, Betty, and thank you guys for logging in. All right. Past chair, not dead, Relay for Life, American Cancer Society. Tell me about this one.
Okay, what we do, because with the Relay for Life is a marathon that we take care of from 6 p.m. at night until 6 a.m. in the morning, because the whole thing about that is that we say cancer do not sleep, so why do we? So what we
Right.
have with different teams, and there is somebody doing the walk continuously from all night. So we have different teams, and so you
Right.
may do 2 laps, and then somebody else can do 2 laps. We have different
Nice.
games and different all raising funds for the American Cancer Society. So we do that for many years. We have the cancer survivors, and it's all fun, because sometimes we do the Simon Says, so you walk backwards, you do different
Yeah.
things to keep that, because again, you're going for 12 hours, doing that, and all again in the interests and supporting those who look at the big C and look at it as a death sentence, but it's not necessarily so. I mean, so it's all part in terms of that awareness.
I think too, knowledge is power, and I think especially in that aspect, every October too, my niece is a survivor of breast cancer, and I always do something special for the month of October,
Mm-hmm.
because she's still here in the land of the living.
Mm-hmm.
And as you say, it's not a death sentence, I know, and some people get depressed about it, but I think cancer is something that you have to fight it to the best of your ability.
Mm-hmm.
Only God knows the time or the hour.
Yeah.
Not me,
In that light, I always share, because with our men, go
Yes.
and check your prostate. Forget the nonsense about somebody cannot enter your rear. I mean, it is the health part of it. I mean, they have the PSA test and so forth, but you should not, prostate is one of those things that could be dealt with if it's found out early. But
Right.
sometimes we have that whole thing about thinking that, well, no. Health first. Men, do it.
Yes.
Also, that same likewise with colon cancer.
Yes.
Do your colonoscopy. Especially when you hit for black men, I think they said 45 years, or you should be doing it once every 10 years, making sure that, you shouldn't have, when you look in terms of like that actor died in Wakanda, out of colon
Yes.
cancer.
Yes.
I mean, had you been doing his colonoscopy, that might have been detected early because it's one of those cancers that could be healed. But, again, sometimes we as men, especially when prostate is concerned, have all of these myths about our sexuality and so forth, and, our masculinity and that aspect that if you have prostate cancer, you do that, you cannot function sexually. But which do you want? You want to live or do you want to have sex?
Right.
And this is a myth really in terms of if something wrong with my prostate that I cannot, that's a myth. So, but again, all I can do is to encourage our men, make sure your primary doctor recommend to have those tests done for you if you are 45 or more, and earlier if there's a history of it in your family, be sure to make sure that you are medically fit. We want to live as long as possible, and whatever we can do to encourage and enhance that quality of life, that's what it's all about.
Exactly. Yeah. And in October, I'm having a Pretty in Pink. This will be my first event. I and some other friends come together because we had two of our friends who had near miss with it. So I'm going to have a fashion show. I'll let you know more about it, but it will be October the 5th. Pretty in Pink.
Okay.
And what we're going to do too is the contributions that we get from it, we're going to divide it to Trinidad, Jamaica, and Guyana, because we know people back home can't afford mammograms and different things, because we don't want to put it to like the Cancer Society. We want to put it where people could actually get help, So that's what we're going to do. All right, moving on. Past chair, Miami, member of Miami Caribbean Carnival Incorporated, 1984 to 2008. Tell us a little about that.
Yeah, I've been past president of the Miami Carnival for many years, acting vice president, going back in terms of for many years, it was Mr. DDC Selman Lewis and myself, really the two main person behind the Miami Carnival, and have where it's come today. I mean, part of that foundation in terms of laying that for those who are doing it right now. Have doing quite a great job to be one of the number one carnival in North America, or let's say Trini style carnival outside of Trinidad and Tobago. I resigned in 2008 after 25 years. Again, was the focus in terms of my political career and so forth. And then bring a new breed. I think after 25 years, get other people involved, because too many times, we want to hold on, and hold on. But you need that interjection of new ideas and so forth. And there are those who are doing a good job now. Mr. Anthony Joseph is still part of the committee and what have you. And I support everything that is going on right now. But I did my time for 25 years, carrying that banter, all over the world, in fact, in representing. We used to have what we call the International Caribbean Carnival Association, ICA, in terms of all of the various heads of the carnival throughout the world, not only North America, England. Gypsy was part of that also, that we used to meet and, try to support each other in terms of the various carnival. Back in the day, Mr. Carlos Lezama, we call him the granddaddy of North American Carnival, the DC's, God bless his soul, part of that. And, I remember 1 year, because, we had that fight for multiple carnival, and he came to me and he said, "Young man, the next time I come back here to Miami Carnival, I don't want to hear about two carnival. I want to have one carnival, and I want you to be one to make it happen." I said,
so
yes.
That's how it's that's how they change the name now when everybody come together.
That's part of the ongoing, and that at that time we had Miami, and then we had Realator, which is the other side, and then we came together, having one. Then we had the Broward Carnival started, and then there's a second. So there was two different mergers that took place. But congratulations, now we only have one, and hopefully it will continue like that, because there's always talk about other people want to start a carnival. I don't have one clue as to what it takes to produce an event as to this magnitude. And there's always the whole thing that the carnival committee make all of this money. They don't have an idea as to the cost that it take in order to produce what is being produced. You see the glory out there, but you don't know the pain behind it.
I know. I didn't see the pain.
So,
I was asked question. Ask him about the transition of music band Ecstatic Charlie's Roots to Kes and Bungie.
Oh, well, if you may go back, and then I think at some point we'll talk about the parties and so forth. For those of you who came down to Miami back in the 90s and enjoyed the Coconut Grove Convention Center, as we call that, that was myself and Mr. Caldi Cruz, my partner. That was my production. That's what you see there. So we're talking about the first time we brought Marshall into the convention center there. And what we did with that is that we look in terms of, if you weren't at the convention center as a soca artist or a soca band from wherever, it don't matter what part of the Caribbean, you won't consider part of. I'm talking about from the Bahamas, from Dominica, from even, whilst I'm saying that Shaggy, when Shaggy first came out, it wasn't me. Shaggy performed at the convention center just for me, putting him hotel room only. The next year, when it wasn't me take off, Livingstone not even return my phone call. Rupee. When Rupee, because of True Crossfire, Michael Agard, who was the band manager then, and he recommended Rupee, this young man who, now coming out with Jump and so forth. He just, again, to get that exposure, we had him at the convention center. That day we used to do Friday, Saturday night, and then Monday, the Beach Fest and so forth, where I gave him a few $100 that he was so appreciative of it. A couple other things that happened during that duration. Alfonso Ribeiro, Dancing with the Stars. Ragu, this is you, man. Ragu, this is you, man. We used to bring in WLID from New York with Bob Fredericks and Ian the Goose and Claude Tate and the whole crew, and do live broadcasts back into New York. And that's what helped build part of the Miami Carnival. Because I remember Byron Lee saying to me, Francis, he used to do Friday in Tampa, the Saturday night in Orlando, the weekend before Miami Carnival. And he used to be, in the early days, you remember Michael Lee Park, and they used to do the Duval. For those who used to come out from New York, Michael Lee Park used to do tours for various carnival, wherever. And he said, Francis, I went to, before that, when we asked him to just give us a mention at the convention center, oh, you guys have fast food soca because we have like 6-7 bands performing, and he liked to play for 2-3 hours. And he said, man, when we went to rehearse, the place is packed. And I said, yes, tonight is good. He said, when I came back now and it's time to go on, and the place empty, all I heard, convention center. The next year where he was is at the convention center. He said, Francis, I have to give it to you. But that was all part in terms of the growth of the Miami Carnival, because our idea, or my idea, is that wherever you come from in the Caribbean, make sure you feel at home. And there are many people that, that was it. So be it from Jamaica, be it from Trinidad, be it from Barbados. But those days you had Square One and Crossfire, and you name it, that was it. So that growth pattern in terms of from any of the major bands coming up from Trinidad, when we paid Ecstatic or Marshall, in fact, $15,000.
Yes.
He was getting $6,000 with Boost Taylor and at the Duval Hotel, and we offering $15,000 to come and play. Back in the day.
Back in the days, I know.
Oh, you spoil Marshall, you give him the big money. Well, I wish we had him then, because now if you want to have Marshall, just performance fee for us up here, a minimum of $200,000 US.
200,000 US?
That's performance fee only. Has nothing to do with the hotel, the airline ticket, the per diem, Nothing to
Wow.
do with that, and people don't know what goes on. One of the things that annoy me, and I don't care if they're listening now, is that you have these artists now. For any time they get a hit, it's first class ticket,
Yes.
two first, and then per diem, $150 US per diem. I don't need $150 every day. I
Right.
mean, there are times I
Right.
want to splurge and what have you, yes. But this is what you're not eating that in Trinidad, because you look at almost $1,000. You don't spend $1,000 in food and try, and you come to us up here. But that's what the market is, and that's part of the pain in terms of what we do. So we see the transition, and that lead us into the events that we do for One Fet, because they asked about CAS and so forth, which is part of our headline band for what we do, be it Soca Fest. For those who were at the museum last year on the Friday night
Mm-hmm.
with Soca Fest, I mean, that was our production that we do there. Which we do not only in Miami, but we do Miami, we do New York, we do Trinidad at the Oval. Coming up for the Memorial Weekend, we'll be in
Yeah, Atlanta.
Orlando, Orlando, then
Orlando.
fly out to Atlanta with Rhea White and
Yeah.
so forth. So we do that throughout, plus the Bubble in the Bahamas. My partner, Derek Ragunath, who is Gemini Production. That again, with the One Fet, that was a coming together of two of us used to be, he was Gemini Production with Bruce Taylor and they, and I am CDC and associates, myself and Carl, and we are fighting against each other. And it's like, why are we doing this whole thing? Let's come together. Yeah,
Right.
and we all have the same goal, and that's how we formed the organization One Fet, for which I'm the
Nice.
president of One Fet, and we combine our talents, and we work together for one goal in providing good quality music with
That
the artists, because many of the other parties that you have is DJs charging the same price we are charging for the bands or the for the artists, and it's like, well, which come first? You do not support the artists and you don't support the band. Where are you getting your music from? So
right.
we are one of the only organization that is out there that go out there in a big way in terms of making sure that we produce events that give the artists and give the bands the opportunity to showcase their talents, throughout.
Great. Question for you. How do you like Carnival when it was on the street to inside the park now? That's Miami Carnival they're talking about.
Well, again, it's what you have. We, as carnival enthusiasts, when coming to that for Miami Carnival, we get crazy and do stupid things.
Right.
Okay, real stupid. I remember when we were in Opalaka one year, and we are there because, again, as West Indians, English-speaking West Indians, we do not have no hold in no community in any areas. The Hispanic have cayocho that they can do it on the street because they have the support. We do not have that. So we are blessed by they going to the authorities and giving us the opportunity. So
Right.
when you have here now, we go before there, and you have, I remember this old lady coming out and said, this is the gentleman was urinating in front of her house, and
Right.
she said, man, you can't do that. And rather than say, I'm sorry, ma'am, he, shaking stuff in front of her and so forth, and you have those things on tape,
Right.
present a situation that in the behind the scene, and Mr. Joseph could mention about that, what you go through in terms of that hardship in going in communities. What
Right.
we have right now is the best that you can do, because we don't have the community for what it bring there. The year that we went to Markham, when I leave Miami Carnival, I went to Broward Carnival, and we were at Markham Fairgrounds, and that you had the traffic backed up from almost about 3 miles of traffic. People
Right.
who don't look like us, and even people who look like us that maybe with different nationalities, and you're stuck in a traffic for 2-3 hours because of what we are doing our cultural celebration.
Right.
They don't have the patience for that. The
Right.
Miami Carnival, for the extent as what it is difficult to find a road parade except in the boondocks, someplace that people are going to sacrifice their concerns or their enjoyment of their day on that
Right.
Sunday because of, hey, I'm going to church, and now it is that I am stuck. I cannot leave my house, which is something
Right.
we encountered when we do it at the Dolphin Stadium there, that people said, even though not everybody pay attention, I'm going to church and I cannot leave because a parade block off, and that's my only roadway in order to go to the church. And, so it create the havoc, but it is that the best can be offered. And I think the route is about almost 1.5 miles or 2 miles. It's the best that could be done considering until such time. And people say, well, you guys should have your own. Yeah. Do you know the cost of land in order to have it? And where you're going to do in terms of providing that so you're not a hardship in terms of encumbering and the other community who are not used to our culture or not having the patience to say, well, hey, when it's we just had the St. Patrick's Day parade. You have the coyote that they lock off 8 hours.
Puerto Ricans, they have parade, you
know? But that's their community. That's their community, and the support is just like you have the ability in New York with the Eastern Parkway because the amount of Caribbean people that you have out there. And one of my enjoyment for Labor Day is when I see and you look in terms of the Haitian, the Jamaicans, the Canadian, and you see those thousands of people with the flag waving and showing that Caribbean empowerment. I mean, and that's something we can really harness more to show a stronger voting bloc in order to put people into office that support what we have. And that's what I love about New York. We don't have that necessarily here in Miami to show that, because in Miami Carnival, one of the early things that it is, you had to be in costume in order to participate in the Miami Carnival. And that being said, I must recognize Rudy Jarvis from Big and Strong. Because when they first started to come to Miami Carnival and they were at Broward and used to do a t-shirt band, and then he told me, oh, Frank, they always want to get into Miami Carnival. And I said, Rudy, why don't you take that t-shirt and decorate it and make a band out of it and something? And he went ahead and do that. As such, we were able to bring him to Miami Carnival. And today when I see where he came from to what he is doing now, hey, Big and Strong, they are big and strong.
But let me tell you, you know how they get the name too. Back in the days, Rolando was our friend. And he had a guy named Damien. So Damien was big and Rolando was strong. So that's how we call them, big and strong. That's
I didn't know how to get it. Never knew that part.
Yes.
Never
but you know,
knew
when
that
people
part.
get big, they forget where they come from. So I just watch them now. You know, I just keep a backseat.
Yeah, the same as Natural Freaks. They get the opportunity because we did concert in Galveston, and I ran into his mom and they told me about her son now coming up as a DJ in New York, and can we give them the opportunity and so forth and bring them at the convention center, same as Back to Basic and all of the, once you pass through the convention center, hey, you become big and you get that exposure. And you have seen that from then to what they do now. And one of the prominent bands from New York in Miami Carnival, but they're starting giving the exposure. So you never know, you give people the opportunity, and if you're doing it for the right reason, and they grow from there. So that's all part of we giving them the opportunity, because again, we used to do the carnival parties in Galveston for their carnival.
Right. So how have convention center top off with the performance with the smaller venues now? What you think?
Well, the problem that we encountered is, and that's the only thing I always say that, is the only thing that I miss is we never get to do a grand finale with the convention center. What they told us, because we used to go from 10 p.m. at night till 10 a.m. in the morning.
Right.
Okay. And they told us it was going to be closed the following year, and we planned, okay, we can do that grand finale. We finished on that Sunday morning, and the next week they closed on the convention center. Never give us the opportunity to do that.
Convention center.
Yeah, that grand finale. So that's the part. And what happened with that for a number of years, because now we had all of these bands and couldn't find a venue that could hold the amount of people that the convention center used to have, because we had upwards of 12 to 13,000 people when we added in terms of all of our complimentaries and so forth at the convention center. It was the largest indoor party outside, well, not even outside of Trinidad, because Trinidad don't have a venue that could hold that amount of people.
Right.
For about 3 years or so, we were like in search and, try to do. And what we had was a monopoly on the Saturday night, especially because nobody wanted to take the chance to come up against us. When we couldn't find a venue, had all of these smaller parties coming up. And now that we have the larger venue, but it gets scattered, that you have everybody who think that they're a promoter, regardless of where you come from,
Yeah.
the industry, it's like I have a hotel room here and I get 200 here and I get 300 here. So you do not have, we still have the largest crowd, but not to the extent as to what we had back in the day at the Coconut Grove Convention Center.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And to piggyback on what you were saying earlier on, I saw an Instagram post with Bungie Garlin, and he was talking about back in the days when he used to go to Canada and he used to sleep in this dorm. And he said, they didn't used to get per diem, they didn't get a lot of stuff. And he was saying that, he went through so much in his career to be where he is today. But I guess people don't know about that era, because long ago they never used to have per diem. They go and they stay by a friend or a cousin or whatever, and they just want now is the demands is they want to get per diem, they want a bottle the highest liquor in the room, different things like that. So now comparing to long ago and now, what do you think about these new artists that they have now?
Well, I heard that interview. I saw it myself, and it's not totally correct.
Right.
It's not totally correct because again, Bungie is still a latecomer coming out from back in the day, and I can say in Toronto when Ian Wilshire used to be the main promoter out there. Yes, he used to house them as the dog.
Ian Wilshire was a guy with Mad Hatters.
Mad Hat, and he's the one that started Glow. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So that's what he used to do out there. But they used to have, because again, we did shows in Toronto, was the first group to take the parties from downtown Toronto and move it up into Markham Fairgrounds out there. And we did in collaboration first with Ellsworth James and then with Bad Lad, the DJ out of Toronto, because we have to join with somebody out there, a citizen out there, not to do the production and so forth. And we always pay the per diem. I remember one year, Liz and Marshall was on their way to Toronto and calling me on their way the Thursday before Carnival. And Francis, Ian has it as at the dorm there, and we want to have a hotel. I'm like
the culinary arts place.
Yeah, because remember he used to do Captain John, which is the boat that at first I thought was a ship going out, and have Captain John on the boat there the Thursday night and so forth in Toronto. And I'm like, I don't live in Toronto, and here it is Carnival Thursday. I have to find a hotel room, for Marshall and for Liz and so forth, which I end up doing. And what was interesting that we had Marshall on the Sunday up in Markham, and I'm going to get a call on the Friday or the Saturday. Francis, what about a per diem for Marshall on the Sunday? I'm like, you don't ask me how I'm paying for the hotel for you for these days that Ian has not given me no compensation. I'm paying for the hotel, and you're asking for my per diem, for your per diem for the Sunday, and you paying for these too. But so it was not a total correct situation. What used to happen back then is to when you leave Trinidad and you come up there, they used to stay by family and they stay there for weeks and months.
Right.
And that's the aspect whereby, they are looking for jobs, and that's when you used to get the per diem. But if it's not a short term, as far as my involvement in the promotion business going back from the late 80s, we always pay per diem before even Bungie was. As a matter of fact, I remember when he used to call me father, him and Talprey, and we did at the warehouse in New York. And those days they used to have, I think it was Tilden Hall. Yes. And I remember on WLIB, I'm saying the only place you're going to see Talprey and Bungie was at the warehouse and so forth. And next thing you know, is after I'm paying them, I heard, they stopped by and did a show in Tilden Hall with Bruce Taylor. And Father, we just did a thing. Yeah, we just did a thing, but I'm promoting the one place to see you guys. See you guys. So all the Brooklyn people get to see them in Tilden Hall, and we in the warehouse and so forth. And I'm saying, my God, if I had known that before, you don't get paid. Because it make me look that I'm promoting something on LIB. Those are the days that LIB, and I so miss WLIB. No longer, that station. I don't know if you were in New York back then when WLIB was run the show with, Ian the Goose and
Ian is a friend of the show also.
Good. So Ian could say that because he was always my MC and always did all our ads and so forth for our promotion. Still, one thing I want Ian DNA because Ian looked the same as I have known him.
Yeah.
50. I mean, I don't know what it is he is doing, but I've not grown one day older over the years. But a great guy, a great personality, and is a humble person.
Right. So what advice you have for these upcoming artists, because you're a man of a lot of wisdom, you know? So I just wanted to say president of the Miami Gardens, president of the Miami Garden Neighborhood Watch, president of One Fet, president of the FKSS Properties LLC. Mr. Ragu, you're wearing a lot of hats. And I want to say congratulations, because you know what? We don't normally see a person of our color into all your hand in the pot, you know? And I mean, representing Trinidad, you know, I always say, you know, people who come here and make something of themselves, it's always proud and it's always good to give flowers while people are alive. You know, I think, you know, people don't know your background, and I'm really happy that you come onto my show and you're really showcasing who you really are, because from the years I know you, you're very humble, very quiet, and if you don't know who Francis Ragu is, you would never know, you know? So your humility and that discipline that you have, I wish if people now could take a little page from your book, because, you know, they're so show off now. And, you know, I think how I look at those new artists coming up, from the time they feel they make it, they forget where they come from and they forget the people who helped them there. You know? So congratulations and keep doing what you're doing.
One thing I
Right?
want to share, as I mentioned to you with the word fest.
Yes.
The creation of that word came from Francis Ragu, where we are putting Soca Fest together. So all that you see, all these fests, is that taking it again and producing an event. And I wanted to produce an event, not just through a fete or through a party. And taking it from, again, my good friend, Cliff Harris, doing Brass Festival. I couldn't call it Soca Festival, and I abbreviated the word festival to fest. And I always have to explain again when I'm doing my interviews as what is a fest? What is a fest? I have to explain to people what is a fest. And now the first corporation that used the word was Toyota had an ad and they called it Toyota Fest. And now because fest has become a word that everybody uses, and I'm saying this little humble, had I known better and copyrighted, I'd have been a multi-millionaire now, but that's an acceptable word. The other part, as I shared with you, if you go to Jackson Hospital, for those who live in Florida, and you see Jackson Cares, that is something that it is true. My recommendation to Mr. Carlos Magoya, the CEO of Jackson Hospital, in terms of the nurses coming to our organization at UPAC and saying it takes almost 36 hours in order to get a bed for the patient there. And I recommended to him in terms of providing that hospitality, not only for the patient, but to the family while they're enduring that wait time, and putting together, you could call it Jackson Cares. He sent a note to me and saying, let Francis Ragu know that we're going to implement his ideas. And now you have the whole thing that when they call you after your surgery or hospitalization or follow-up, that is all part of my recommendation that I've put out there, that you are being, you know, the community is benefiting in terms of what I have done. But again, I didn't come there and share the wood, but
yes, right. But you know what, Mr. Ragu, how I look at it is that your legacy will live on and on and on and on, you know, and just keep being the community activist you are, you know, because you're a man that you love people. And I think you're doing it for the cause and not the applause. And that's where a lot of people get stray away with. They just do it for the applause.
And the likes.
And the likes. And that's it. But I know you're doing it because you love it and you love your community and you want to make things better for us, you know? Mm-hmm. So I have part of the segment here. I have a trivia for you. So it's called Ditch It or Keep It. Mm-hmm. All right? So I'm going to ask you a question. Is either you're keeping it or you're ditching it. All right?
Okay.
Roast fish or steam fish?
Steam.
Steam. Okay, so you're keeping that. All right. Mm-hmm. Roti or doubles?
Roti.
Okay. Soca
And that's
or
Dalpuri.
eh?
Dalpuri, not Parata. Parata is
Okay,
only flour.
okay. That's for me. All right. Soca or reggae?
Soca.
Soca. Trinidad Carnival or Miami Carnival?
I have to give it to Trinidad.
All right, okay. Desperados or All Stars?
Two great steel bands.
All right. Bacon saltfish or coconut bake with melted cheese?
Give me like coconut baked with saltfish.
Okay. Sorrel or ginger beer?
Ginger beer.
All right. Country life or tongue life?
I'm a country boy.
I know, right? Baron or crazy?
Baron, I love dancing to his music.
All right. Grandstand or North Stand?
The Bacchanal stand.
Easter or New Year's?
Hmm. Good question. That's a good question. I would say New Year. I
New
would say
Year?
New Year. Mm-hmm.
All right, okay. Kiss or voice?
Cass.
Okay. Clifton Hill Beach or Miaro Beach?
I'm from Moruga, Moruga Beach.
All right. Sponge cake or black cake?
Black cake.
Okay, and the last one, rice and peas or split peas rice cooker?
A nice split peas rice cooked up with some saltfish in it.
Yes.
Country food.
So you did good with your trivia. That wasn't difficult.
No, it was not.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mr. Ragu, I'd love to have you back on the program. What we spoke about earlier on. Anytime you're ready, just my information, give me a holler and we'll bring you back on here. Thank you once again for, bringing light and education to a lot of us who didn't know much of the history of Miami Carnival and the history of the soca industry. Um, I think a lot of people passed on, so we never really get the true essence of how things were. But for your clarification with some of this stuff tonight, I want to say thank you very much for enlightening us and getting a more appreciation of the culture and our soca artists and the struggles that we face each day to make carnival or to make one fete and different things bigger, better, with one head of our culture. um, I also wanted to say that I think with you guys coming together with the one fete, you get to see everybody in one fete.
Mhm.
And I think that's one of the shows that you really see a lot of artists. When you go to one fete, it come like when you go to Hyatt Fete, you see everybody. One fete is like that. So congratulations to you and your partner in just keeping and going forward because the one fete have a name and they deliver. So the headliner for one fete always is Kes.
Yes, because he is really at the top of the soca industry. Even you'll be surprised. Marshall have is it's between him and Marshall, but Kes is the one running the show right now, and that. So coming to New York, you'll be seeing Kes with the band. Nadia Batson with the art form, which is a band. You'll be seeing Mikael Teja, Wadix, and Raymond Ramnarine, and all of the top acts. Carnival Friday, Brooklyn Museum.
Okay,
Mhm.
good. So we could look out, you said, for Orlando. You said Atlanta. We have Labor Day. And we have Miami
Miami.
Carnival coming up, right? Any
Yes.
other things you're all in right now?
My partner does, Derek, he does I think it's a 20 something year for the Mother's Day and so forth. So there are events we combine and there's events he does on his own. He has Boston, an event in Boston and other smaller communities that, they do, but that's separate and
Anything for
apart from
Canada? You all do Canada by any chance?
I know the numbers was not making sense in terms of, across there and so forth. And then sometimes when you out there, we get hit because they feel that, hey, we can pay the bigger bill, So, it didn't make sense in terms of Toronto anymore. It
All
didn't
right.
make sense. So we leave that to them. But as I mentioned to you, I'm going to make a recommendation for two of my good friends in terms of, and if you go Google Passion Kairos, my good friend who does motivational speaking and author out of Trinidad and Tobago has a resort out there in Las Cuevas.
Okay.
Yeah, as a good guest that you can have. She has a retreat coming up next month at the retreat at the resort, and also as I spoke to you in terms of from estate planning from my good friend who is the president of the Bar Association. Many times, which we have seen, and in the business of real estate, whereby we think that we have time, but COVID have shown that, you just don't know that you die today and your life is not in order for the children and the family, and then, you're fighting over for whatever remains that you have and so forth.
Right.
I'd love to have her as a guest, to do estate planning and speak in terms of that in the future. So if there's an interest, let me know. I can speak to them and try to give you their connection.
There is an interest. Just set it up for me and let me give them a date and we'll get the ball rolling, because you know what? Education is power, and when we know better, we do better. And all we could do is pass the message on to let people know that they have to have some kind of financial backings when the family member pass on, because too many times we see people putting up GoFundMe for help when they didn't put the house in order. Sometimes it don't take a lot, but any little you put down, just like I say, you want to buy a nice bag, you want to buy a nice shoe, put down. That is something sure, and we have to put our business in order.
But if I may leave with one thing, I'm going to say it again. If you are able to vote, please do, and make sure not only that you register, but your circle of influence. Please, this election is too important for us not to participate in it or encourage your friends. I mean, it is. You see what is out there. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. You should know who to vote for, because you know what the alternative is. When you say this weekend that it's going to be a bloodbath if I lose the election, that tells you everything.
Yes.
Okay, please, folks, if there's one thing, if you are a citizen of the United States, don't say I am going back, because many times, oh, I'm just coming and I'm going. You're not. If you're here more than 5 years, you're not going back. No place if you're able to. This is home.
Exactly.
Okay, this is home. And if you are home here, because by saying that I am not going to participate, that is voting because somebody else is making a decision for you that you have to abide by the laws of this country. Okay, please go ahead there, encourage your friends, register to vote, and vote in your election. As they always say, all election is local. The community that you live in, okay, you have Adams there they make the difference.
Yep, they sure do. So they need to go out and vote.
Yes. So make sure you participate in the election, the local election, because your presidential is once every 4 years, but you live in a community throughout. If your water don't get water, you don't call the president. You're going to call your local or what have you, so forth. So again, encourage them. Your children who are going to school, let them register to vote by mail. So if they're in school, they can still vote. Get that in them. It's the best thing that we can do for the quality of life that we want to enjoy on this shores away from home.
Exactly. So there you guys, you had it from Mr. Ragu. You heard what he had to say tonight. Go out there. Again, each one teach one. Mr. Ragu, thank you very much for hanging with us. Thank you for taking the time from your busy schedule to sit with us and have this discussion. Have a blessed and wonderful, safe week. Walk in love always.
Thank you, and same to you.
All right. Have a good night, guys. See you guys next week, God willing. Bye.